Going live. All right. Says we're live. Trying this again, everybody. Sorry for that. Hopefully this time it will work. He cheats it when I have guests, apparently.
Maybe it's me.
Yeah. I used to try to do these with Chad. We had horrible tech. I remember we did that. We had that Star Wars episode. We did it like 5 times before we ever got anything.
How many times can you talk about Star
by
Wars?
the last one, that's why we're like, well, Star Wars, whatever. Like,
almost Jar Jar Binks 5 times.
Yeah, we just don't care anymore.
I thought about redoing that Star Wars episode, but overdubbing all of Jar Jar Binks' lines with a different voice, like with some really kind of disinterested, like, laid back voice, or someone really very foul mouthed or something, just to make it totally different. I'm
sure somebody's done something like that. I know there was one where Chad told me about it, where they did I think it was the final one of the second trilogy of the prequels, where they took some kind of automated Chinese translation software thing and took all the dialogue from that, they translated it to Chinese and back to English. And then they took all the dialogue from that and then replaced it all with that. I don't know. I've never watched it. But it sounded like it was really funny though. But okay, if anybody's there, feel free to chime in. I'm gonna try to find this on my phone too, or my extra phone here, to see if this one will work. But to see a live stream. But I think we are. It says we are this time.
Okay.
Though I don't see any live viewers there yet. But usually it takes them a little while to notice what's happening and come on here. But anyway, here we are again with Ronan Conroy, and I'm going to skip the introduction again because you guys maybe have seen him in my videos. But he was about to tell us a story. On the way over here, I asked Ronan to pick up some LaCroix, and I'm sure you know what LaCroix is. It's that sugar-free carbonated water that all ex-alcoholics drink. So I had to pick some up, but I guess he has a funny story about picking it up.
It may not be that funny after
the 4th time I was trying to say it.
I'm
like, no, wait.
So I went in the store, and it says beverages in this aisle, but there's no LaCroix in that aisle. It's actually beverages in 6 different aisles spread across the whole store. So I walked all over the store twice looking for the LaCroix. It's actually right behind the register. But I was at the register with the LaCroix, and then this guy comes over with a plastic box of nuts, and apparently he's been to the register already because they recognize him, and he's gone to talk to the people at the deli counter, and he comes by and says, "Oh, they told me to come to you," and the person at the register is acting as if, "No, you can't talk to me." She says, "Well, they told me to come to you," and then the other register girl says, "No," and he says, "Well, I have to talk to manager," and then she just says, "Oh, well, the phone's not working, so I can't call the manager."
What?
He says, "What?" She says, "Well, the phone's not working, so I can't call the manager. Maybe he's downstairs." And then she just sits there looking at him. And at that point, I just walked out. But it was such a demonstration of excellent customer service in action.
What? I mean, the phrase "plastic box of nuts" kind of got my attention there.
I wish I could get away with treating my customers like that in my career, but sadly, that's not that I would want to. But I'm just saying that the standard at which in my tech career I've been held to versus the standard of service that you receive as a customer, it doesn't always bake out. So then across the street, and there was a cop car blocking the bike lane, and I was just walking away. They came on the microphone, and I thought they were going to say something. I was like, well, what am I doing wrong? But he was actually just broadcasting into the store to his colleague what flavor of potato chips he wanted. He's like, salt and vinegar.
That's
chips.
hilarious.
Okay.
I've never seen him do that.
That's an official use of the tannoy system right there.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I've never seen him do that. But yeah, there's a lot of times there's that. Well, I don't know if you walk past that Dunkin' Donuts out there, but it might be too cold for I did it. Might be too cold for the gaggle of freaks that usually hang out in front of that Dunkin' Donuts. But I don't even like to walk past that because it's usually just I don't know, not to sound mean, but those. When you live in New York City, there's usually groups of people that hang out near subway entrances or
bus
stations or delis, bodegas, buy lotto tickets all day, getting drunk, smoking weed, and then they just stand out there and act like crazy people. And usually they're right in front of that Dunkin' Donuts, so I usually try to cross the street.
There's at least one or two in the Dunkin' Donuts. One guy was asleep on the table.
Yeah.
So I presume that.
I would hate to work at that place. That would be terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, well, if you are tuning into this live, there's some stuff we talked about in the beginning that is going to be on the podcast version of this because I'm doing a backup recording. So if you want to go back and listen to that, you can. That's just at demonicsweaterspodcast.blogspot.com, or you can just subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts and all that stuff. If this is indeed live, because I still don't see any people responding there, but I'm trying to check it here on my other phone, which I had to restart because it wasn't working for some reason. But now I'm getting some kind of crazy vibration going on here on this phone. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're like one of those people, you know how they talk about like in those paranormal shows that like there's certain people that like blows out lights and like just like crazy shit happening around them all the time. Are you one of those people?
Not typically. I don't typically dabble in technology. I think I'm kind of impervious to all the supernatural stuff. I know a lot of people who say they're mediums or that they receive messages from the other realm, or people who have seen ghosts or pick up on all that. I don't ever see any of that. I watch these horror films and I get a bit freaked out. I'm like, oh, there'll be a noise in the apartment that night, and I'll get creeped out. But honestly, I've never seen anything or felt anything. I think I'm just immune to any witnessing of paranormal stuff, whether it's UFOs or ghosts or spirits or anything. It just doesn't show up for me.
I've seen them. I've seen stuff. I've talked about all that shit on here a billion times, but I guess I could just repeat all of it. But I think like one thing that I saw, kind of a ghostish type story, was when I was practicing with what was the band Lincoln, but it was before we were called Lincoln. It was like when we were still called Ice Fan. Like I was just a kid.
Ice Fan.
Ice Fan.
But where did that name come from?
I don't know.
Ice Fan,
like a block of ice in front of a fan. Yeah, exactly. Because it was really hot, I think, one summer, and like it was like we need an ice fan, like and that was our name. But so like I think it is live. I was able to see it here. But anyway, like I was playing drums. We were getting ready to practice, and it was in my dad's basement. And my dad, the way the house is there's like weep in there. There's like a garage on top of a garage, basically. There's one because it's on a hill, and so like the top garage is up here, and then like as the hill comes down, there's another garage down here. And so we used to practice in that downstairs garage for a while, and I was like basically getting ready for the guys to come over, and I was playing my drums, and they should be there any minute. And so I look up, and I see who I thought was John standing in the doorway, like kind of with his arm up against the doorway there. Right. And I just didn't think, I was like, oh, that's weird. He's standing there like that. And I look back down and I play, and I look back up and he's not there. And I'm like, that's strange. And so I go upstairs and John was in the house, but he was upstairs, like he always used to come and eat all our food. Like he was basically Kramer. And he was, making himself something to eat in our kitchen. And I was like, hey, were you just downstairs? He's like, no. I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. I was like, that's pretty weird. And then in that same, when we also were practicing in that same room, all three of us were in there. And I'm not sure if this was the same day, or it probably wasn't the same day. All my memories are probably just running together. But me, him, and the other guy in the band were all in the room practicing. And there was a little room before the garage, and it had a door that went into the house and another door that separated the little room to the garage. Yeah. And that door was open, and we're in between songs, and that door just literally just slammed shut.
Was it a windy day outside or anything?
Well, even if it was, nothing's open. The garage door is closed. The house wasn't a breezy house or anything, and everything. My dad always kept all the windows closed in the basement, and and it was mostly underground down there. So there was very little chance for that to happen. It never happened from wind any other time. But it not only slammed shut, it locked. So we were locked inside in the garage.
That's creepy.
Yeah. And so we had to, basically the garage door was locked as well. And there was some kind of thing in there my dad had, so nobody could open it because we had our equipment in there, and we didn't want people to be able to open it from the outside. So we had to pry the door open to get back into the house. And yeah, it was weird. And then I don't know if this is connected at all. It could be. But in that little room, the little separated room, there was this cardboard box that was there when we moved in. That was
stop.
It was filled with coal for some reason. And so like I picked it up one day just to see, and the bottom fell out of it, and there was this bag in there. And I opened up the bag and it was filled with all this money. Like there was like, but it was all like old coins and all this shit. And it was a decent amount of money. It was like $200 or something. And I was like, sweet, like, so but it just so happened I accidentally busted out my friend Chad's garage window, like right before that happened.
Oh.
And so I had to pay for it. And I luckily had just found that thing, and it was like just the amount of money that I needed to pay for that window. It was really strange.
That's quite strange.
Yeah, it was weird. And we used to have like coming up from that downstairs basement, it always felt like there was somebody walking behind me. Like it was weird. But I don't think it's like that now. Like it was weird. I think my dad's been in there long enough that like whatever energy was in there, like it's like gone now. But it felt like when we first moved in, there was a lot of stuff that was kind of like that. And I'm still really skeptical about this stream because usually there's chats by now and I don't see anything. So if anybody is out there, feel free to type in the chat there. And if I don't see it, that's because this thing just isn't working. So yeah, sorry about that, but we'll just keep going.
All right. That's pretty creepy though. I mean, like I've never seen anything like that. I've never witnessed or, I have a sense that I'm just blocked from all of that.
But you've always pretty much been in cities too. I think it's harder to experience that stuff in cities, like big cities, because there's like lights everywhere and like there's like people all over the place all the time, and it's like
there's so many people that live and die, and so many situations where energy gets blocked. And when I first moved to New York, the girlfriend I was living with at the time, she had witnessed some stuff in one of her apartments, and she said that she moved into this place, and then the dog was always kind of getting a bit nervous and like barking at the bathroom. And when she was moving out, she was taking her stuff down, and it was kind of a long hallway, one of these kind of brownstone buildings, hallway that went to the street and to the backyard. And as she was coming down with the last bag, she kind of, like you're saying, with the guy leaning, there was a guy standing in the doorway to the backyard, and then she kind of went out the door and then turned around again. He wasn't there. And then she went and checked the yard. There was nobody there, and just very creepy. And then she learned later that the former inhabitant of that apartment had murdered his girlfriend in that apartment, and it was gruesome, really, implanting energy kind of thing, where he killed her while she was in the shower or the bath, and like slammed her head against the porcelain side of the bathtub, and then dragged her down the stairs and out into the yard. And it was like this horrible scene that just. So she says she witnessed like energy or seen that guy in the corridor. So that's a city. So I still think you can imprint things.
Yeah,
in cities.
Absolutely. People do experience things in the city all the time, but I think it's easier. I don't know, like because if there's like you tend to when you're in silence, or like you're in a place that's real quiet and there's not much going on, then your senses become more. Hyper focused or something, more sensitive, because like when you're in a city like this, it's got shit going on all the time. You kind of block everything out. Like you block out all the outside sounds. You block out all the noise from the road. You block out all the dogs barking and like all the like crap going on outside all day. Jackhammers at 2 a.m. like all the stuff that happens in New York City. You're constantly like your mind just zones out. Just it's like active noise cancellation.
Yeah, I guess there's the point of that. But I grew up in Dublin, which is a much smaller city.
That's still
and I lived in Mayo for a couple of years on the west coast of Ireland. So I lived around the place a little bit. But yeah, I just don't have the sense that I'm tuned into that, or that I'm just blocked from it or something, protected from it maybe. I don't know. And I kind of sometimes I feel like I'm missing out on some cool stories and experiences, but then I'm like I don't really want to experience this stuff, to be honest, because it would freak me out.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
I'll just watch movies about it.
I mean, there's some things that happen to me that are just weird and like they're not explainable, but it's not like they're paranormal really, like, but they're just weird. Like there's one time I had this, it was like a handheld cassette recorder. And when I was like, I think I told this story on the podcast before, but I've probably told all these stories. But like I was like recording, this is back when I lived in Florida, and I was recording all this stuff and trying to be like make experimental music and doing stuff on the tape recorder. I think it was a micro cassette recorder. And I was recording some like spoken word type thing. And then like I said the word money in that. I don't remember what the rest was about. And like so I was like, I wasn't crazy about the way it sounded. So I rewound it and recorded it again. And then when I listened to it back, my original recording was on there and the one that I just recorded over. And so if you know about basics of cassette recorders, you can't do that unless it's a multi-channel cassette recorder. That's impossible, like, because it erases it only has one record head on it. And when you record something, it erases the previous one. And then I was like, that's really strange. Must be some kind of glitch. So I rewound and did it again. Now there are 3 voices on there at the same time. And I was like, okay, this is really strange. Like, why is it doing this? And then, like, I think I got up to like 5 voices, but it was only for the word money. And that is why it was so fucking bizarre. And then I was like, I thought I was going crazy. I was like, okay, this is so weird. And so I did it again, and then it didn't do it.
This is right before you found the $200 of money.
No, that was a long time before that. Okay. But like, I did it again, and then it just recorded over it normally. No, I think I could be. I'm not sure if I'm imagining this now. Like, I could have. It's so long ago, but I could have possibly said something different.
And then it erased.
it.
Was it a signal or a sign from the universe that you're never going to make a lot of money?
Maybe. But like,
this is as close as you're going to get to money, hearing it multiple times. So. That's weird.
Yeah, it's a strange sound.
That sounds like some tentacles being crawling across the ceiling.
What the hell is that?
That does sound like a dog, but like a very furry dog, like dragging the fur.
And he does have dogs up there. It must be the dogs, but I never really heard that sound before. That's really strange. So yeah, I hope nothing comes falling through the ceiling or like a pipe explodes or something. That would be bad. Yeah, that happened actually in my old apartment. I came home from work one day, and as soon as I walked in the door, like literally as soon as I walked in the door, I started seeing like a little drop of water come out of the light fixture. And I was like, that's weird. And then it just started gushing. Like water pouring out of every light. And just, God. I mean, it was crazy. It was like I was like, I didn't know I still had like my bag and like everything like on me from work, and like water's just like raining down in my apartment. I was like, what the hell is going on? And like, so like, I'm like calling the landlord and stuff, and I can't get through. And so I called the fire department.
Yeah.
And they came over, and what it was is the top floor. We were on the bottom floor. Right. So this is how bad this was.
Oh God, I went through all the floors.
Went through all the floors. The very top floor apartment. The guy was out of town. It was really cold too. And he had his pipe froze and burst.
Right.
And it was running for like an hour, basically. And just like nobody could get into his apartment because he was out of town.
Right.
And so the fire department had to bust down his door with axes, get in there and shut it off. And like, yeah, it was, but the entire building was flooded. It was awful. Really bad.
Apartment living.
Yeah. That place was a shithole. Like a really, really crappy apartment. And if you go back and watch some of my old videos, you can see it in there. It's when I was like, a lot of them I'm sitting in front of the computer, and you'll see all my clothes like right next to me because it was so tiny. I had like the closet, like basically it was not even a real closet. It was like one of those ones you buy from Target. You know, like,
the clothes rack.
Yeah, clothes rack, and everything's like right next to my head. But so we just played the other night. We kind of told that story. Was that in the first one before it cut off?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, we played the other night, and that was good.
Yeah, people really like the sound because a lot of people said that the 3 of us gel really well together. Yeah. And you know, when I'm chatting to people, I kind of explain, well, you know, you and Charlie, you recorded the songs. Some of them maybe not. Like there's a couple where Charlie does drums, but most of those songs you are on the recording. And Charlie's usually the one who writes the bass lines and records. He produces and engineers the tracks, so he's very familiar with them. So you guys know the songs really well. So when we practice them, it's not like these are brand new material. So the energy gels pretty well, which is cool. That's on your second live gig, though, right? I think you played with me before. No, actually, you played years ago with me and Charlie at Alphabet Lounge many years ago. Lounge? Yeah, is that the place? It's called Alphabet Lounge. It's this weird venue, and it has like the stage is like
in Alphabet City.
I think it's called Alphabet Lounge.
No, but was it in Alphabet City?
Might have been. I don't
Like,
remember.
I think I was at that gig, but I didn't play.
You definitely played drums with me many years ago, like 5 years ago or something. But this is, since we've been playing again together, this is maybe the second live show
Yeah.
we played, which is great because I've been playing solo for a while, and I usually either play acoustic, but then the last year or two I've been playing electric, sometimes acoustic with a pedal board, because when you're on your own, you're trying to build up the sound. So I'm using looper stations and all these pedals to try to build this thing, which is great. And what I like about playing solo is you can control the noise level. You can really drop it down, so I can get close to the mic and really, make the most out of my voice.
Yeah.
Like I can when I'm recording. You can like whisper and really get. Was when you're playing with a full band, it's a lot harder to get the texture and the nuance.
Yeah.
And the danger is you find yourself kind of going sharp or shouting a little bit, and so that can be frustrating. I felt the sound quality of the monitors was a bit swirly, so I couldn't quite hear.
It's always hard. Maybe you should consider investing in some of those like nice in-ear monitors. Have you ever thought about that?
To actually get sound from the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get it like directly into your ear. I know a lot of like, people that like vocalists do that these days because they're just much better.
Yeah, it seems like would that not be a little pretentious, like kind of like Madonna, J-Lo kind of thing?
I mean, it's not pretentious to want to have good sound, and like make it sound and be the best that you can be.
True.
Yeah, I mean, monitors for drums are always like, because they're usually over here, and so that sucks because like, especially if they're really loud and it's just all in one ear, and like, so it's just like blowing this left ear out like when you play. But he was pretty good though. I mean, at first he had everything up. Well, first there was nothing, and then I was like, put stuff on the monitor. Then it was like really loud. Then I was like, turn it, okay, easy down. Turn it down a little bit, and then he got it good.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy though.
Yeah. That's a decent venue. The sound usually there is pretty good, so I like playing there. Delancey's another one where the sound is okay, but it's like this circuit of venues in New York City, like the Delancey Lounge, Arlene's Grocery, where
pianos.
Yeah, pianos. I haven't gotten a gig in pianos in a while. And then there's the kind of next level up, like the Bowery Ballroom, maybe, or Irving Plaza, maybe a little higher up the ranks. So I'm kind of I've always been a little short of getting into those bigger venues, and that's always been the ambition. How do you get from the crowd size to double to triple to where you're starting to get like an opening set at Bowery Ballroom for some other cool band that's touring, and then maybe that leads somewhere. And you see these smaller indie bands, and they're playing some small place like Bowery Electric. The next thing they've got an opening set at Music Hall Williamsburg, and then they're playing themselves at Brooklyn Steel. It can be done, but it's a mystery. It's very hard. Well, I have no friends, so that explains that.
It's partly a popularity contest. It really is. Because like that's why it's easier for younger generation, to do that stuff. Like, and as they should, because it's their time, honestly. Like
it's my time too, dude. Not done yet.
I'm not saying that we're not done, but I'm saying, like I'm all for the kids, being the ones that are out there playing the shows. And like, plus I don't want to be out till fucking 3 a.m. playing shows, like they can do it. They have the energy to do it and go on tour and do all that stuff. There's other ways we can do stuff like this, and like, there's other ways where you can do it. And I think like we've made for only playing 2 shows, with this lineup, it's like pretty good. We made a really good progression in those 2 shows as far as the audience. And
and the sound, the tightness.
Yeah, people liked it.
I mean, I analyze every gig, and I walk away, and this is something I feel bad about after the gig. Like I walk away sometimes focusing too much on, I played a wrong note in the solo. Yeah. So the entire song was great, but that one wrong note is going to sit in my head. Yeah. And then you just come from playing a show. You kind of have to be professional, right? Especially in front of the people that are there and the audience and your friends. You want to be a little bit, a beat and like socialize and talk, but I'm like, this mistake, and then I missed the cue on this one. So I have to kind of get my head out of that, because it's not the time. You do the postmortem maybe a day or 2 later, or better, when you're preparing for the next show, so you can actually change what you're doing and rehearse. It's not great to do that postmortem right after the gig, but I definitely focus on all the things that I wanted to do differently. One of them is that pedal board, I have to strip that thing down. I was gonna do it right.
Pedals.
Yeah, I was gonna do it in the last
like
practice.
2 gigantic. They're like each this big, and there's 2 of them. Like it's like how many in total is it?
It's heavy, and it's
how many total pedals is it?
God, let me think.
You don't even know. Like that's when you know it's too much.
So I have the Space Station, which has 99 built-in sounds. So I'm really only using one sound in these gigs. I have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's probably 12 to 14 pedals. I mean, the distortion, the delay, the tuner, those are kind of necessary. Chorus pedal, yeah, but then it gets into these other things that you don't need a whole lot of. I was going to strip it down at the last minute, and Charlie said, "Do not strip this down 2 days before the gig. You will rue the day." I said, "Okay, I will not do that."
Wait until you have time to like relearn.
But the next gig is March 3rd, so I think I definitely want to take some time and just think about it, just from a logistics standpoint, like carrying all this gear.
I mean, and plus, when I'm listening to you play, it doesn't sound like you. Aside from the dark, that's the only one that has obvious effects. Like everything else is like you could do with a volume knob.
Well, there's reverb I use a lot.
Yeah, but reverb's on an amp.
Yeah, but you have to turn on and like change the amp setting.
Well, why does it have to be different?
I don't know.
I mean, nothing's like what I'm saying is like everything's so subtle. You could get away with just not having it. You know, like it's different when there's a band that has like all these effects, like shoegaze bands, and like when they step on an effect, it's like it's like this big obvious thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
But if it's all like just little tiny things, why? I mean, that's cool, like in recording, but why go through all the trouble if it's like barely noticeable?
I can definitely notice it on certainly like extra delay and reverb on a solo lifts it up, makes it a bit more shimmering.
Yeah.
So I can definitely notice that, but there's some effects that maybe I could strip out of the board just to bring it down to one. Just pedal boards are a mess because you can't. It's like Tetris. Nothing really fits in there.
Yeah. I mean, really, all you need is reverb, distortion, clean sound. That's really it.
I don't know. I'm very attached. And when I played in Oh Halo, we used a lot more effects there because it was very textured band, and I use a lot of effects just to kind of cut through and have it, because there were 2 keyboards and 2 female vocals, so you have to have a little bit of a different texture. And I just got used to all these pedals at that point, got really attached to buying new pedals. So
to me, though, it's kind of like you ever see like a band and then like, not that I'm against this totally, like, because sometimes it could be cool, but you'll see their drummer setting up and he's got like rototoms and like this big drum rack, and it's like totally like just overkill for the situation.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like, I mean, yeah, all that stuff's cool and can be effective if it's used tastefully and stuff, but at the same time you kind of have to make stuff easy for you, focus on the performance more than the gear.
It's gotten to the point. I mean, when I was playing solo, the looper station became really important because I could really do the verse and then solo the verse.
You're using it like an additional member.
Yeah. So I need to think it through again and try to strip it down because it's just too much stuff on there. I'd love to simplify just what's involved in playing the gig and just focus more on the performance.
Yeah, and there's also like multi-effects pedals where you can just have a program for each song.
Yeah.
And just have one pedal.
I don't know. I struggled with those. I had one of those years ago. I never really got my head around it.
They make some good ones now. I had even cheap ones. I had one by Zoom, just recently that was but I hardly ever used it. But it was nice. It sounded really good. I was surprised at how good it sounded. But it had everything. It even had a looper in it. It was $70 or something. Yeah, it's crazy how good they are now. If
I can just cut it in half, it'll probably be good enough to go. The other thing I got a lot of other things I want to work on for the next performance. But one thing that one of the guys told me afterwards was, he said, introduce yourself. But I don't know. Some bands just start playing, they don't introduce it. So I just figured I was in that mood that night. I was just kick into the song immediately, as opposed to, hi, it's a big story. The other thing he told me was open your eyes. People tell me that all the time when I play, open your eyes. And I'm like, it's just natural to close my eyes when I play. Maybe that's just because I'm self-conscious when I'm playing, or tuning people out allows me to just forget anyone's there and focus on what I'm doing. But I have a hard time opening, because you can't even see anyone anyway. I can't see the audience because the lights are in your face. You can't see anybody. So, they teach you when you're making, corporate speeches or whatever, they always look at pick a point in the back of above everyone's head at the back of the hall. So it gives people the illusion that you're looking at them.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of looking at the camera, just over the camera. Maybe that looks like I'm looking directly in the camera lens. But I don't know. When you're performing as a musician, maybe My brother, he runs a guitar school in Galway in Ireland. He's also a gigging musician. He's a songwriter, very good songwriter. He's got a very different performance style to me. He's much more engaging, and sometimes it's like night and day when you see me eyes closed, barring to the songs, and then he'll like play an open mic after me or play a set after me. He will explain the song, tell a story, tell a joke, gets the whole audience engaged, learns people's names, and it's much more of a connection. And I don't know if I have the kind of storytelling connection.
Well, the thing is like
going on.
Performing live too. It's almost like it is kind of like public speaking, and it's all about like confidence, or like any kind of, like engagement with anybody. Like if you're like engaging with one person, like one-on-one, it's no different than that. You just act like the audience is one person.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know. It is weirder. Like when it's easier behind the drums for sure, because like, you've got this wall of drums in front of you, but I think doing YouTube has helped me a lot, where it's like, you just have to like be a little, it's good. It's like, it's all about the confidence, like even like you were saying before about like, you think about how you messed up and stuff. Like, even if you do, everybody messes up, like, but it comes like where you like people can pick up on that, like if you're feeling bad about it, it definitely comes off, and then like it's better to like just have
play through it. You just play through it,
just be like,
but afterwards
on to the next one.
I think, God, why did I mess this part up, or how did we get the cue off? We've only played two gigs together as a 3-piece, so why I'm expecting us to have 2 or 3 practices before a show and be perfect is, I just have very high standards for myself all the time. But just, it takes a lot more practice, I think, and a lot more hard work than that. And it's, we're not professionally full-time gigging musicians where this is our single thing, where we're getting a bunch of income so we can spend that much time. But I know bands who do, multiple practices a week, and they go over the stuff over and over and over again. It's a ton of energy. I just don't know where they get the time for it.
Yeah.
My time just gets sucked up. It just goes, I don't know where the time goes sometimes. Well, I know where it goes, but I don't know where people find time to do all this stuff. Sleep more than 5 hours a night.
5 hours? Well, come on. That's not, I think most people can figure that one out. Like,
I don't know. Sometimes 5 is all I can do. I mean, I have a little more time right now, so I'm getting 8 hours, maybe half the time. Yeah. That's not typically what I was getting. 6 hours is my usual.
You just have to go to bed earlier.
There's so much stuff to do, though.
Well, the thing is like, I only get like that. I only get like that if I feel like there's a lot of stuff to do, and then what happens to me is then I don't do any of them.
Right.
Because like I'm like thinking about how many things there are to do.
Yeah.
But if I like just stay calm and just make a list,
and
then just plow through the list one at a time.
Yeah.
That's usually what I do, and that's how I get all this shit done.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. But there's sometimes, just stuff takes way longer than you expect.
Yeah.
And that's when you get frustrated and time goes out the window. But I do waste time. I'm very productive with time, but I also can waste time. Last night, it was 2:25 a.m. I was watching X-Men 2, and I was sitting there going, I haven't seen X-Men 1, so I don't know who these people are. So I stopped it, and then that's a good time to go to sleep. Mm-hmm. But instead, on my DVR, I had recorded a walk through the tombstones with Liam Neeson. And I was like, let's see what this is like. So I watched the whole film.
Starting at 2:25 a.m.
Till 4:30 in the morning.
Oh my God.
I watched the whole film. And then I'm sitting there while the film's going on saying, you're only going to get 5 hours of sleep. You know what you're doing.
Oh, man. No, I never stay up that late. Never.
I'm a late person, even when I'm getting up early. I don't know if we talked about this, the Seinfeld sketch, Night Guy and Morning Guy. He does this routine at the end of one of his Seinfeld episodes where he talks about Night Guy and Morning Guy, and the Night Guy is always screwing Morning Guy. You're the same person, but like Night Guy's like, I'm gonna stay up all night, and then Morning Guy's like, Night Guy again? What the hell? And that's me. I like wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh, why? I mean, not a bad film actually. It's not. I watched a lot of dumb movies. Well, Liam Neeson was always he's
always all right.
Well, I feel like he's been slumming it. He was in Schindler's List, right, which is a good film. It was a reputable film. It was like Oscars and all that. And then he became this kind of schlocky, I'll find you and kill you, Taken 2, Taken 3.
What was the one with the train? It was on the
I didn't see that one. That
was pretty good.
I didn't see that one.
I mean, it's not like like amazing movie, but it was entertaining.
He's an action hero guy now. So he was in this film with the wolves called The Grey, and it was awful. It was just like,
I remember seeing the trailer.
And when it ended, I was like, that's the end? What? So you never really know what you're going to get from his films. But this one was good, but it was like evil people doing inexplicably evil things, and he hunts them down. You're like, just leaves you feeling like, okay, it was a good film, but did I need to watch people do that stuff and get hunted for it? But it was, that's where some of my time goes. I can be productive with the time, but I can also completely be inappropriately irresponsible with quality sleep.
Well, see, what I do is I have two monitors. I have my laptop in front of me that I'm working on. Then over here, I have a second monitor, and I have crappy movies on over there. Or bad TV almost the whole time.
At the same time.
Well, I don't really pay attention to it. That's why they're crappy. Like if it's something good, then like I'll end up getting sucked in. But I can just put on like the Travel Channel, like Ghost, Hunters or whatever, and like leave it on like pretty much all day.
I want to pay attention.
I do get sucked into those ID network shows though, and then I did that for like last week.
These are the Ghost Hunter ones.
No, ID network's all the like crime stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like I had to stop. I was thinking like the world is the most evil, messed up place of the entire. I was like, I cannot watch these anymore. Like this is like really messing up my psyche.
Very stupid too, because these people like they kill their loved ones or whatever, and it's like, how do you think you ever would even get away with that? I mean, I watch them trying to understand like what makes someone want or get to the point where this is like something that seems like a good idea, or you'd want to, or you're so
messed up,
consumed by your own like dark energy, but it's the actual execution of it.
If
you get over like what,
then they carry through with it too. Like that's the crazy thing. Like they keep going.
So brazenly, dumbly done. It's just,
it's messed up.
Can suck you in, but the ghost ones can suck you into. I for a couple of years I was watching Ghost Adventures, which is the Zach.
Yeah, that one's good.
They're good.
Like
and the Ghost Hunters, the original one.
Yeah.
Then there
Taps.
was
Ghost Hunters. I don't know. Like great way to confuse everybody. You know, it's a show called Ghost Hunters, but all their hats say Taps. There's
the marketing guys.
Yeah,
and there was the one with this kid in Pennsylvania. He started something at a university there. Then there was the one with the retired New York detective and the medium, and they both go in separately, and then they compare notes. And there's all these. There's one who the haunted collector. Oh, my phone book is haunted. Let me, and he come in and like monitor the house and see that it keeps opening, up at night or whatever. And he comes and takes it away and contains it somewhere. And
have you watched that show Evil yet?
No.
That is a great show.
Is it?
It's actually it's fiction, but it's a really good show. I was surprised actually. CBS, and like I'm surprised at how good it is.
A lot of CBS shows they're well executed and they're well produced and they're glossy and shiny, but they just leave me feeling like cold and just disinterested.
No, this one's not. This one is really interesting. Like it's definitely one of the most original shows that I've seen in a while. Like on those type of subjects. It's like, I mean, there's just stuff in there you wouldn't expect. Like they're like it involves psilocybin pretty regularly. Like where like there's this one guy, the guy who like works for the Catholic Church. He's trying to become a priest. And like basically they go around and like investigate like to see if things are really possession or if it's like just somebody who's crazy. And then he has like this atheist girl that works for him, and actually two atheists, like a girl and a guy. And then like but at night he's like drinking like mushroom tea to like lay back and try to see God. And like it's like just really, I don't know, it's a really really cool show. And I mean it has a lot more to it than that. And that the guy who was did you ever watch Lost?
Yeah,
the guy who was the head of the others, that the guy, he's in it, and he's like the main bad guy in it again, and he's really good in it.
Yeah, he creeps out.
He's really good in it, and I don't know, it's a really really good show. I'm very surprised at how good it is, and just very good acting and like cool stories, really original, and it's good. And they even do one where there's like the one atheist guy is a guest on one of these ghost hunter shows, and he's like the skeptic, like, everything. But like, and then like, but it's so funny how they depict the ghost hunter show. Like, it's like totally bullshit. Like these guys, like just like faking everything. And like,
well, some of them, they do a lot of faking. There were the Zach's Ghost Adventures guys. They had some inventor on who had invented all these different extra devices for paranormal activity. And he says that something was yanked out of his hand, and they went back and showed him actually throwing it. And he's like, "No, it was not thrown. It was really just." So they had to issue a disclaimer and all that. But the Taps one, there was also a big controversy that they make all the crew or the cast or whoever, they're made to sign some sort of non-disclosure. When they leave the show, they're not able to say anything about the show because they'll get sued. But apparently there's all these rumors that a lot of stuff is kind of faked or exaggerated.
It has to be, because I mean, think about it. Even if Paranormal Activity is real, you're not going to get it every single time.
Right, so there has to be a sort of ratings thing that goes on.
Yeah, so like every single episode has stuff happen. Like the one thing that I always think is funny is they're like, "Oh, it's cold here." It's like, so what? You know, like sometimes it's cold. Like that doesn't mean anything.
See how cold
like,
it is right there?
Yeah, like sometimes it's cold in my apartment. Yeah. Sometimes they don't turn on the heat. Like it just happens.
Like, but then occasionally they'll get something on the camera that's just like, what the hell was that? It's just
yeah. I think the Ghost Adventures ones, like, because they're always like going over like Satanists' houses and stuff, and they tend to find like some of the stuff seems to be pretty convincing that they pick up. Not always. Sometimes it seems obviously fake. But.
Was the one you told me to watch? Where it was like, what was that? Where I found an old horseshoe that was hanging in this house where people did satanic rituals, and I brought it home on my wall. I don't know. So why would you do that? Yeah. Oh, and then you know what? I don't know where it is. I think I'm gonna bury it in my backyard. What? And then it turns out no, it's actually hanging in the basement. What? Why would you do this stuff? Even if you don't believe in any of this stuff, like why would you just invite? You just creepazoid.
Yeah. Oh, I watched. Speaking of terrible movies, did you see You Were Never Really Here? Joaquin Phoenix.
It's like familiar.
It's so weird because like it's almost like a horrible version of the Joker, like because it was released before the Joker. It was like the year before the Joker, and or Joker, and it's got Joaquin Phoenix, and it's got a lot of similarities. Like he lives with his mom. He's like a really awkward, disturbed guy, but in this movie he's like paid by like they never really specify too much. Like he's like paid by the government or somebody to track down missing children and like get them who've been like sex trafficked or something like that. And he's like, but overall, I mean, the plot and everything, it could have been okay, but the way it was executed was so pretentious and just awful. Like all of the actions cut out. Like they don't show any action. It's like always after it happens. Like is when they show like where they pick up the scene, except for a couple of things. And then like it's one of those movies where the dialogue is like so quiet. It's like really, really quiet. And then like you have to turn everything up really loud. And then like all the action is like super loud. And then they have to turn it all back down again. And like it was just not a good a good movie.
Yeah, I think I did see this. This is based on a book by I think this, if I'm not mistaken, I think this was a book that, Charlie's a member of this Bushwick book club, where they read a book every month and they all write they write songs about the book.
Yeah.
This was one of the ones that they featured. So I had heard Charlie's song for this before I ever watched the movie, and his song they did for this is really good. It's got this dark synth track underneath it, and then it just gets. It's really atmospheric and really dark. And then I actually watched the movie without connecting the dots, and I was like, oh, that's why this thing seems familiar. The movie is very dark. It just
wasn't good though.
I liked it. I just thought it was really dark, and I think I was at home. I forget where I was. I might have been at home for Christmas, and we rented it on Netflix or wherever. And right before the end, like 2 minutes before the end of the film, there's like a line of dialogue I didn't catch. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wait, let me. And I tried to rewind, and then it just glitched, and we couldn't get back to that point, and it took us 30 minutes to get back to watch the final 2 minutes of the thing. I was that's so annoying. But I liked it. I thought it was a good film.
Really, I didn't think it was good. But I also watched what I actually did like and somehow never saw before was Death Proof. Did you ever see that one? No. Quentin Tarantino. It's like one of Quentin Tarantino's like. It's like got lost in the shuffle somehow.
Yeah, I thought like,
it's weird. Like nobody knows about it. Like because it came out when he did that double feature thing with Robert Rodriguez. They were
Kill Bill.
No, it was after that. What did they call it? They called it Grindhouse.
Grindhouse.
Yeah, it was like Grindhouse Productions, and they did like this double feature of both his movie and I forget what. I need to watch Robert Rodriguez's now because they played them together.
I vaguely.
And like it flopped. Like nobody went to see him.
Oh.
And like, but. It's got Kurt Russell, who plays like this killer guy. Right. Like it's actually, I think it was one of Quentin Tarantino's best movies. Like I thought it was great. Like it was hugely entertaining. I was really shocked at how good
people
it
went
was.
off Tarantino because they just like, oh, we've seen this movie before. We know what you do.
Yeah, well, I didn't like the couple like Hateful Eight. I just thought was horrible.
It was
a terrible movie.
Just the one where like they're stuck in this cabin or whatever. Yeah, I enjoyed certain parts of it. It was very stylish, but it just felt like I don't like to be one of those guys gratuitously violent,
It
just
was
overly violent.
It was totally
because I'm not really a sensitive type in terms of you're not allowed to put that on TV. But I did feel like, so what's the point? I just felt like this is just reveling in some of the abuse and the violence and some of the scenes. Like, why would you go there?
Yeah.
But I mean, then the last film he did about the Manson family.
I didn't see that one yet.
That for me,
I heard it was good. People have liked it.
I mean, I've just certain topics that I'm fascinated by, and I spent a lot of time reading about them over the years. Mm-hmm. Nixon was one I was fascinated by for a long time. World War II history is another one. The Manson family in the '60s and that whole era. So I've read tons about Manson. The best book about Manson is the DA's book, Helter Skelter, and I think that's just the most detailed expose. But there's dozens more books, including books by the Manson. And there's a book where this guy went to interview Manson for I don't know a year. He taped all the interviews, and then he wrote like Manson's autobiography based on this. And you get kind of Manson's side of the story, and you put it all together, you get a good sense of how this all fits together. But I just find it fascinating as a Charlie Manson and his family as a reflection of the conditions of the time and how they created the situation that this could happen. Yeah. And him as this sort of dark underside of American culture. But
well, it's weird how he went to prison for murder.
Because he was never. I mean,
that would never happen today. Never happened.
For the longest time, I thought, well, they didn't actually put him at the scene of the crime, but the truth is, and he admits it, he actually went back to the scene of one of the crimes after the fact and was there before.
But he still never killed
one of the other. Yeah, so
I mean, I'm not saying he was a good guy at all, but
he's done all kind.
He never killed anybody.
He said he did plenty of other things that they didn't catch him for, but he was definitely, a bit of a nut job. And you read his autobiography, there's plenty of stuff in there that he would have been arrested for. I'm not trying to defend him, but there was no evidence that he actually committed those. So evil or not, a good lawyer would have gotten him off today.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the bizarre thing.
Like it's strange. Yeah.
It was kind of like a scapegoat. Like
it's kind of like drugs.
Drugs, the hippie movement. This is what can happen. See, here's the example. But I don't know. I like how the film treated that Manson myth and approached that topic because it did a spin on it that for me, I found very powerful. So I don't know. I just think for Hollywood, for members of that community, for people who are interested in American culture and the cascade of what happens in the 60s, it took the film to a higher level. The acting was great, the storytelling, all the other stuff was really great, but that element pushed it into like a great movie territory as opposed to a good action Tarantino film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Death Proof was like, it was kind of like why it was so good is because it didn't take itself so seriously. Like that was partly why I thought it was such a good movie because like it was violent, but it was like done in like a schlocky kind of purposefully. Like there's bad editing in the movie, like on purpose. Like they'll be in the middle of a dialogue scene and they'll just cut to something else. Like just like there's like fake film deterioration like throughout it, and like it's got all this little touches.
Very postmodern.
Like yeah, but it was really well done. And Kurt Russell's great. Like he's just like he never plays a guy that bad usually. Like where he's like just a sick evil dude. Like and he was really really good. Highly recommended watching that. That was a really good one. But like I mean, and there's some violence, but it's just a few scenes where it gets really violent. But it again is kind of like. It's done in like a stylized kind of exploitation kind of way to where it's like it doesn't seem so full of itself where it's kind of funny. I mean, it's a little disturbing, like especially one scene, but it's not like Terrifier disturbing.
I was just gonna say not as disturbing as the clown film you want me to watch.
You still haven't watched it? Oh jeez. I thought about watching it again, but I don't know if I could. But the sequel is coming out, I think, this year. And if it comes to the theater, I'm definitely going to go see it in the theater.
There's a new Grudge film. I'm sure it won't be anywhere near Terrifier, but I might want to watch that.
Yeah,
I like those films.
I mean, Terrifier is like, it's like one of the most horribly disturbing movies I've ever seen. But it's done in an 80s throwback horror kind of way. So
Is
it's
it up
like,
there with like The Interview or Old Boy? Did you ever see Old Boy?
no, I've heard about it.
That's a film that I could not watch again.
Really?
There's no circumstance in which I'd be like, yeah, let's watch this film. This would be a good way to spend the evening.
I mean,
although-
Terrifier, it's just the violence. Like there's things in that movie where like you just can't unsee. You're just like,
I definitely want to see this now. There are some films I'll watch twice. I tried to make my girlfriend watch 21 Jump Street. Sometimes late at night I'll turn on the TV and I'll go to the movie channels and just scroll through the next week to see what's, because I miss films in the movie theaters. I don't always catch them. So I'm like, I didn't see that one. Let me record that. And then I just cast a net and I build up like a dozen schlocky movies and I'll watch them over time. And
Sharknadoes. Did you see all the Sharknadoes?
No, I'm not going to go there. But 22 Jump Street came on one night.
22? I didn't even know.
And I started watching 22 Jump Street and I'm like, wait, this is a sequel to 21 Jump. And for a second I'm like, I don't know if I can. But then I realized you'll miss nothing from plot or anything by watching this out of sequence.
Yeah,
and it's completely, it's fine. But really hilarious. As far as dumb movies go, really, really good.
It's like the Starsky and Hutch movie. Did you ever see that?
I might have.
I thought it was funny. It's pretty, watch it now. It's pretty funny.
I don't know. It wasn't on the level of 22 and 21 Jump Street. Those are very funny.
Another one too that when it was out, I mean, I was young, but I thought it was horrible. But now I watched it recently and I thought it was hilarious. Is the Coneheads movie?
I never did see that.
Oh my god, it is so weird. It is like such a weird movie. Like, I just think Dan Aykroyd, like his sense of humor was like so bizarre. It was like way too bizarre for the time. And like, so nobody really got it. But like now it's like, you watch it now, you're just like, this is great. Like, it's so strange. And like that, he did that other movie too back then called Nothing But Trouble, which is like one of the most disturbing comedies. Like, it's so strange where like it has Chevy Chase and Demi Moore and they get lost in New Jersey. And like the way they depict New Jersey in this movie is just absolutely hilarious. It's like this mayor and he's like all weird and like he's like old and like deformed and stuff. And John Candy plays like his daughter and his son. And like, and like it's just really, it's a really bizarre movie. But apparently that one got like, it was a huge flop too. And but Dan Aykroyd wanted to make it like way more disturbing than it even was. But it was supposed to be rated R, but like the studio like had him like do all this stuff to it. But I would love to see like how it was he originally envisioned that movie, because I still think it's hilarious. But like, it's just, if you haven't watched, go onto YouTube and search the camera's over here. Go onto YouTube and search Nothing But Trouble hot dog scene, and like it is just so weird.
I'll watch this when I go home.
But
the hot dog scene, I won't watch the whole movie. But
you have to watch the whole movie too.
I have a list of like 200 movies to get to. We talked about lists earlier. I have lists of movies I want to see, lists of music to listen to.
Have you ever watched any of those Rob Zombie movies?
No.
I haven't watched any of those. But for horror fans, they always say that they're actually really good.
I saw one of them, and what the hell was the name? But it had the word 2000 or 1000 or speaking the name of it.
1,000 Corpses.
Yeah, and it was very stylish and it was very well done. I like that a lot. I didn't know what I was getting into when I watched it, but it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, there's 5 from Hell, or 3 from Hell, something like that is another one. But everybody says is like they're supposed to be really good for the genre, but I've never watched him. But I saw him on he was on Joe Rogan podcast, Rob Zombie, and it actually seemed like a pretty cool guy. I was like, wow, he's actually cooler than I thought he would be. Because I never really liked White Zombie, like the music. Like they were just, I don't know, kind of cheesy. But like, supposedly as a filmmaker, he's pretty good. But anyway, maybe we should stop it here. We're at 50:27 on this one, and add that to the other one. We're probably at like, over an hour.
Sounds good. Maybe a quick plug for the next gigs that are coming up. So we've March 3rd.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, we've our next gig is at March 3rd at Arlene's Grocery. So we're on it at 7 o'clock. I'm also playing a solo 20-minute set at this is the new album that came out last year. The Moment Is Gone. So we're definitely including a lot of this material in our gigs. Although we also included material for some of the prior albums too.
It's on vinyls.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So vinyl is supposed to be the new hipster thing everybody wants.
I thought that was tapes.
That's a bridge too far for me. I don't even know where you would get tapes done.
8 tracks.
Yeah. I'm also doing a gig on the 1st of February, Saturday, 1st of February, at Cafe Bait in Williamsburg. That's a cool spot. I played there a couple of times. I really love playing there. They're doing a benefit for Bernie Sanders. I'm definitely, I'm not 100% sure whether he's the guy who can bring in all the kind of swing voters.
Oh, we're going to politics?
Well, just really quickly, I read this great book called The Decline of Western Liberalism, and it talked about, this sort of polarization where people on both sides are like hating each other so rabidly, but
I have some commenters like that.
There's a kind of a block of swing voters that kind of go back and forth.
Too liberal.
And I'm not sure whether they'll come back for someone that they perceive to be very left. So I'm not 100% sure he's the guy who can really get that block of voters, but I like a lot of his policies. If he was in there instead of the guy that's in there now, I'd probably like that. So no problems there. I'm happy to fundraise for him. So that's noon to 9 p.m. on the 1st of February in Cafe Bay. They got a ton of great musicians, including Wasabi Fox, who I think you know her from.
She was on the last podcast too.
Cool, yeah. So she's a bit later in the day. I don't know if she's having her full band or what she's doing, but I'm on at about 12:30 that day. So those are the next 2 gigs. There's nothing booked for April yet, but I'm sure we'll be offered a lucrative Sunday at 11 p.m. slot at Ernie's Grocery or some other.
You should look into that. That was not a flattering position. I was just sitting. But you should look into that Tuscan Cafe thing that I sent. Remember that list I sent you?
Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to look
take
at
a look at that, because that place was really great. Every time Quiet Sons played there, It was like really good. It's like upstate somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about just getting a secondhand car so I can just drive up the river a little bit and check out some of these venues.
I'm going to sign up for Zipcar again, so we could always do that too.
Now the car to go is gone. Yeah,
it's not gone yet, but it will be soon.
Is Zipcar is it worth it?
It's better. I mean, if you're going like upstate, it's good. It's pretty good.
Like buying a secondhand car for like $3,000 might be a good way to go.
Yeah, then you have to pay insurance and parking.
Yeah.
New York City parking. That's the
freedom.
Worst.
It's the great American freedom, the automobile.
Yeah. Anyway, I have to go to the bathroom.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.
Let's see if this actually, that recorded. I have no idea. It's weird that usually there's people chatting, so I'm like, I don't understand.
I feel like we did